make you know I want it deep inside. Free your mind, and I'll take you for a ride and make you wanna call my name. I am the reason that you feel like you're alive. Call for me, I'll keep you breathing. You'll be my heartbeat parasite. It's alright, let your know inside come out and touch me. Scream all night, that's what I like. You'll be my heartbeat parasite. Oh, my heartbeat parasite. My heartbeat parasite.
All right, what it do, Vigos Court? What is up, everybody? How are y'all doing on this very beautiful Thursday? I am your host. I am Judge Q, and we've got another new phase for y'all today here in Vigos Court. Welcome in Counselor Dark Wolf. How you doing this evening, my friend?
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. For those of you who don't know, I had to fill in for Vader. He's got some holiday stuff, so I'm taking his spot for tonight.
We love it. We love it. And as far as for tonight's matchup, we have got the Hookers, we have got Deadheads, and, so this is going to be interesting here. So this is the Hookers' first time here in Vigos Court. I believe the Deadheads, if I am not mistaken, I would have to double check my record keeping, but I think they are looking for their first overall win so far here in Vigos. So going to be interesting matchup today.
Yeah, Deadheads is, they're sort of, I would say, sort of a veteran team. They've been here for a while, so they should put up a good show. Hookers are very new, so hopefully, they can bring it to them and, not let their fresh blood drip, you know what I mean?
I feel that. Now, I do have a question for you, though. Do you happen to know where you can typically find the Hookers?
No. Where would you typically find the Hookers?
You can typically find the Hookers at the saloon, which is why today we are heading to the deadest of dogs in the grave of Glendale. It's 138 square tiles, 8,704 square meters. What does that mean? Well, that means it's a 6-hook minimum, 11 hook maximum. Typically one of the more the smaller maps, right? So a lot of action, a lot of high action. Going to be excited to see what kind of killer selection we have tonight.
Yeah, typically on a map like this, you tend to see the stronger killers come. You know what I mean? Because they want that early pressure. It's a small map. They don't want to waste any time. This is usually where you see a lot of nurses, a lot of hags, sometimes even a blight. Someone that can traverse and keep the pressure on and not let them get those outlier gens.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the idea of the hag. I do imagine, though, the one issue as far as the hag, with it being a smaller map, it's probably a little harder to get the web. But once you get the web going, you're almost always in your range, right? So you always have access to kind of put that pressure down. Going to be interested in to see, though, because we are in week 2 of preseason, right? So this is some of our team's last chance as far as when it comes to trying to iron out the last kinks before we get to the regular season. So you talked about, some of the meta killers, so definitely wouldn't be surprised to see a nurse or something like that, but maybe we also see both of our teams also bring in maybe like a mid-tier killer. We've seen some Onis, some Nemesis, something else to kind of just make sure that they're polished up and ready for the regular season.
For sure. A couple killers I can think of off the top of my head that are pretty good, especially on Dead Dogs, right? The Wraith does pretty well on there. As you said, Oni does well. Nemesis, he's been taking some traction, actually. He's moving up in the list just because his ability to, get free information from the zombies, and on a small map like that, he definitely can get that.
Yeah, very, very much so, and especially because there are quite a few pallets that are rather unsafe anyways. But then when you take the ability, especially with, like, say, a Nemesis, right, who can kind of break the pallets and continue moving along and closing the distance, you talked about that extra aura reading, and I think it's interesting. We have seen across the board, I think, in competitive, where different tournaments, and we've seen DBE start opening up, where we are seeing Nemesis being played over there during their Dead by Halloween event. So I will be interested to see if, you know, how much we see him during the regular season here during Vigo's court.
Yeah, I've seen just in other teams, because I do play and I know a lot of teams, so I've seen a lot of people start to pick up Nemesis because of his ability to kind of, you know, wade through those pallets like it's not really a big deal for him, and it helps to keep up that pressure, because when you think you're safe and you're not, and it's kind of almost like he's taken over Deathslinger's role, you know, since they kind of nerfed Deathslinger a little bit. His ADS is not so strong, so it's like Nemesis is trying to take his shoes.
Yeah. So do you think do you think at this point we see, after the nerf, you mentioned the nerf as far as to Deathslinger there, do you think he's at a point where we see him come out at all during the regular season? Or like, I've seen, I think, like, only Wispy competitively use Deathslinger since the nerf, but obviously, like, when we're talking about Deathslinger, it's Wispy, so like I'm talking about the rest of the pool, right?
Yeah, if the way Deathslinger has evolved, right? Unfortunately, he's kind of devolved, right? So the people who truly main Deathslinger are gonna still play him. There's a pool of people who like semi-mained him, right? Like, they're like, oh yeah, he's in my pool. They took him right out as soon as the nerf happened.
Right.
I still feel like he's in the conversation though. I don't put him at the bottom. I put him somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so hold on, I'm trying to get the ad here. I am unfortunately either stuck at removing your face or trying to get to this message in my Discord because of the way my system is set up here. So I'm trying to see if we can get Baby Cades added here real quick so we can get this this thing going, because I'm not sure if there's a space or anything. I've tried this a couple times. Give me a moment here, or if they want to add me, I mean, my name's right up at the top there. We could do it that way too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'll be interested, I think, on Dead Dog once the regular season goes. Do you think this is going to be a map that we see a lot of like S tier killers come out on, or do you feel like we save the S tier killers for maps that they can really like flex on?
I feel like because it's preseason, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So if they're gonna, they might as well. Another thing you might want to, I think you have Harley added. So if Harley would jump in the lobby, you should be able to join off of her. That'd make it a little easier.
True. I thought I had added. Hold on here. Chat. And. All right.
Growing. It's.
I don't even know where that scene is, boss. Oh. All right, chat, we are back. I do sincerely apologize. I know bugs in my Dead by Daylight. Shut up, you're lying. Actually, if I had to guess, I don't know if it was the invitation maybe from the hookers that was infected. That would actually make sense because my game got absolutely bugged. I had to absolutely like shut down to even see the people who had already added me. So I apologize for all the confusion there, chat. That was a big misunderstanding because I knew I had added them but couldn't find them, and then I restarted and was in a bugged lobby. So it definitely was an infection from the hookers. That's what I'm going with. But we're back.
I would agree. My camera is being crazy too from Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, see, the infection is spread. This is awful.
We're good.
All right, let's go. I'm gonna be interested here to see. You were kind of talking about a wide a wide selection of pool here, right? We're talking about could be a meta killer, maybe seeing some of our like off. We've seen quite a bit of off metas already coming in. We talked about the Nemesis, even you talked about how Wraith can be strong here. If you had to pick like one meta killer that you feel like really could like flex themselves here and make sure that our killers are most prepared for the season coming up, which do you think we'll probably see amongst Nurse, Spirit, and Blight?
I mean, it's undeniable. This is Nurse's playground. If anybody who plays Nurse, they love that 3-gen, that spawns just behind the shack, just by Gallows. Like Nurse there all day.
Yeah, I agree. Especially the amount of pressure that the Nurse can build out, especially because you do have 2 gens that kind of cause a little bit of issue for some killers to get to. The one up on top of the saloon, as well as the one that are up on Gallows. And sometimes even across from the saloon, you'll get that one gen that's like up on the backside of that other building. And of course, the Nurse with her blink has the ability to check on those gens without having to, stomp up and down some steps, right?
Yep, she doesn't need to do anything. She's just, oh, there you are. Hi, I'm coming. That's all she does.
Oh, all right. It does look like we are good to go here. So we are going to I'm going to let them know here too so they can get them ready to go. One thing I do got to say, as far as Nurse on Dead Dog, I really like not only the killer aspect, but I like the stress that puts on our survivors because it is a small map, right? So communication's key, especially not only where is she going, but where can I rotate to make sure I finish a gen before she can come back inevitably with a pop once she gets a hook, right? And I feel like it allows a lot of those micro decisions to really be under the microscope in the sense of each mistake really compounds quickly on a small map like this, right?
Absolutely. If you guys are miscommunicating even slightly, Nurse can capitalize. Just because like you might accidentally run towards a direction of someone injured and you might not even know it. That's 2 free downs for her.
Right. And then that's the last thing you want is having multiple people then on a hook. Now you have nobody on a gen. You have to at least make sure you have one person at all time working towards that 400 seconds of objective time, right?
Sure. For sure. And you really need to get rid of the 3-gen. And if you don't, you'll know it. You will know it at the end.
All right, so we're going to get ready to head on in here. Before we do, though, let's talk about as far as the rules for our killer, how they're going to be able to get some scoring and everything. The first 2 hooks are worth 1 point, and then you have 2 points apiece. 3 points for the third hook, 1 less point if they happen to progress, whether they're stuck onto a second or a third stage. But if you happen to get 7 or 8 progressions, you get 1 extra point for those. If you happen to collect a 4K, that will mean that you will also get yourself an additional 2 points there as well. So that means as far as also don't forget that if there's an entity kill, the entity being as far as in the end game, you are going to get the corresponding hook as well as you're going to get those progressions there too. Okay, but if it's whether in the end game or the middle part, and if you happen to have a bleed out, that is going to end in 0 points for that elimination. A total of 30 points can be acquired by our killer. If you happen to have any questions or anything like that, use exclamation point rules in the chat. Keep in mind, we are getting ready for trial number 1 here. We've got hookers, we've got deadheads. We are heading to the deadest of dogs. And we are going to move quickly on into our game here. Ooh. Oh, pressed the wrong button here. My fault, chat. That's actually the first time I pressed the wrong button between the two matchups tonight here. I do apologize about that, but I'm really excited. Looks like we're going to have a Freddy here.
Okay. Freddy, again, he gets a lot of ability to be able to teleport, so he can kind of do a similar thing as to Nurse, come out of unexpected places, and he also can kind of control those loops a little bit. I mean, his pools have been nerfed, but as you see, he gets his first down already. Oh, they were gonna come in for the pallet save, but just shy of making it.
Yeah, unfortunately not tucked just a little bit deeper into that pallet. I think if they would have been able to pull themselves, we saw Claudette try and pull themselves into that pallet space. Had they been able to bury themselves just a little deeper, I think that actually would have been a save there.
Yeah, for sure. And now they do the fake to the Gallows. I thought they were actually going to go check it. Right, so they do get the save, and he has eyes on one. He's gonna go right back to that hook. This is where Freddy shines with his ability to repressure on hooks as long. Oh, that was a good window juke we just saw. As long as he can get right back on them, they don't really gain too much. It's almost like DS with a Nurse. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that the extra time, the animation there of dropping that pallet is actually what got 30 Lashes in trouble. I think if they would have done just one more cycle around and then dropped the pallet, they actually would have been safe there.
Yeah, and we do see them bringing them straight to the basement, and that's not where you want to be, especially on this map. You don't want to be here. It's a very easy building to control. There's always a ton of gens around it. It's not where you want to be.
Yeah, and especially too here, because you're gonna notice, especially once Baby Kate starts looking around more, we are now going to notice that those gens that were covered up by that corrupt intervention are now uncovered, meaning that the remaining 3 survivors have access to any generator that they want to. However, you'll notice that there's some regression going on in that gen on the left here, even though there's nobody on it.
Yeah, and if you do look pretty closely, you do see he has a 4 gen right here, right? He has the Gallows, the one up on the little walkway, and then he has the windmill or the water wheel, and then straight across from that. So he's got a very strong position with this survivor in the basement. He doesn't have to go anywhere. This is going to be a first death, and it's going to be an uphill climb from here.
Yeah, definitely going to be tough. We've got a hooker already down the bottom hanging up. And it looks like here in about 2-3 seconds here, that's going to be actually an elimination. Now that is going to be a progression, right? So at least you're taking that point away from your killer. But definitely don't like being in a 3v1 scenario at only 1 generator complete.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not the room you want to be in. It's not a good place to be. You never want to go in that side room, ever in this little saloon. Even though they changed the layout of it, it's still not safe. There's never a need to be in there. And Orange is finding that out right now as he goes down.
Yeah, now one thing also to note, when we came back around the corner there, we had heard a totem break across the way not too long ago, but when we made that rotation on the top of the saloon, we noticed that there is no longer any sparks coming from that gen, so that means our survivors no longer have to worry about that ruin on these generators.
Yeah, that's exactly what they need, but again, they're all kind of clustered up, and they're right where he wants them, right? He doesn't want to leave this area, so them continually running around here is just giving him the pressure. They are not really applying much. They do have 2 gens done, but that's fine for him because he already has the 4 right here. He doesn't need to go anywhere.
Right, exactly. And it also, too, I think if you talk to just about anybody who plays a lot of killer, they'll tell you, like, those first 2 generators are essentially free, right? So at this point as a killer, it's like really just now the game almost the trial really just now starts, you know?
Yeah, and he's already got one out, one
Yeah.
down, one injured. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to come back from, and he's just going to bring this one to the basement and hope for another death. Because again, he doesn't have to leave, and with his ability to teleport to the gens, he doesn't need to go anywhere. He can continually fake them off of the gen like he's doing right now. He's not leaving, but he's making them. Oh, he actually did. I didn't think he was actually going to go.
Yeah, I do like this the little bit of extra information though, right? Going for the elevation, getting instant information, seeing the Zarina, which you did make the play on there.
And
Now,
we do see a deliverance in play real quick. She just deliverance out of the basement. So see if he never had left, that would have been more pressure, but now they're going to be long gone.
yeah, and the deliverance going to be huge here because now you're getting out of the basement by yourself. We did see the Zarina obviously was over trying to, it looked like was doing a self heal there, but that also means now that Kate has had a whole bunch of free time. Now you just have to wonder what gen the Kate is on.
Yeah, it's at this point, by this down, they're going to wait this out unless they don't care anymore. Yep. But there should be a gen popping any second, and if there isn't, that's unfortunately time wasted. That there should have been a gen pop by now.
Yeah, now we're gonna see a lot of quick throwing of some pallets here. I think this is just a little bit of nerves, a little panic kicking in here, not wanting to go down, knowing that you already have a slug across the way, utilizing the two small little filler pallets here. Unfortunately, though, I think that's gonna be all the time Zarina can buy for themselves.
Oh, they waited for the dead hard. Yep. Unfortunately, right there, the killer did try to bait out the dead hard, and it didn't look like they had it. If they had noticed that he baited it, they could have made that pallet one more time. But panic mode, and there's the gen, and that's the far liar gen, so it's still stuck in this like 4 or 5 gen right here.
Yeah, especially on a map you talked about like this. Well, especially with just the ability for Freddy to teleport, a really nice setup that you've got here. Essentially, you've just knocked out the far corner of the map. No reason to go over there. The only reason anybody would be over there is for a reset. But right now, you don't have time for a reset. The survivors need to get some gens done, and they've also got a friend on a hook.
Yeah, they really should be pushing over there. They should be healing Ashley. You would have thought, but if you remember, Ashley went down by the windmill. That gen popped on the complete opposite side. So it looks like Orange is gonna die here unless they're running at him right now. But I just don't see it. The way Freddy is patrolling this area, he is controlling this area of the map. He's not let anybody do anything he didn't want them to.
Yeah, and I know, sometimes we when we're playing Dead by Daylight in, like public servers and stuff, we hate to see the campouts and things like this here, but we do have to keep in mind, right? The third and the fourth escape are the ones that are the most costly for the team that is playing the killer, essentially, because you're allowing those survivors 16 points between those two, right? So now you've gotten those two, you've at least taken those points away from your survivors here, and now it's just about accumulating these last couple of hooks and ending this thing in a 4K.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it earlier, they've starved him so far 2 points, but he's starved 16. So that's where the math loses for you. And we do see a balanced attempt. It didn't look like it panned out.
Yeah, not quite able to kick it in. We did see him try and kick that in just a little bit. Sometimes we see on maps like this, obviously balanced landing can be used in multiple situations across the map, but sometimes you just happen to catch yourself out of position. Sometimes you can capitalize and do those small little dips to get your spell to speed bit first. Wasn't able to get it. Now over here across the Kate, and this looks like this is pretty well going to spell the end for the hookers.
It does look that way, and this is the first time that Freddy has seen Kate the whole match. So keep that in mind. This is her first time being caught. This is going to be her first hook. So he should get 2 progressions out of this unless she can, luckily Kobe or Ashley has Unbreakable or something. Something needs to happen here or it's over.
Yeah, and the other thing though, keep in mind now this is going to be important. This is where our survivors could potentially take some of those points away from our killer, right? If our survivor that was over here on the ground happens to have been able to find themselves some safety. Unfortunately, though, you had pointed out that the Kate, this was the Kate's first hook, which does mean now we've got even more hang time, allowing the chance for Freddy here to be able to secure this hook even more likely. And it does look like that we have found it there, and we're just waiting out that deliverance,
Yeah.
even though we had already seen it.
Yeah, they were waiting to see if she was able to Kobe, and unfortunately, that's gonna wrap it up on the first round. It's gonna be a 4K with 3 gens.
Yeah, and that's a very strong performance, right? Like, obviously, this is a map where we do tend to see killers thrive a little bit, but sometimes you got to realize the opposite side of that, right? Like, even though it's known from the public eye of being like a strong killer map, if survivors are really on top of it, they can flip the script. So a really good job by Cades here to kind of keep things together and make sure you walk out here with the 4K at just 3 gens complete.
And if you look, it didn't look like he was even gonna let anyone get out because it looks like there was a no-ed.
Yep. Yeah, we had the Noah in play there. So that's actually a really, really good point. So definitely a very strong trial number 1 there. I think this is going to be where it's important to kind of see what the bounce back looks like, right? Like, as far as for the hookers, because now you on the scoreboard, you're looking at a score that feels like you're in a big deficit, but now you're going into the killer round, right?
Right. So as we saw, it looked like Deadheads kind of went into this. It was like, all right, we're gonna not bring a S tier. We're gonna see how we can fare without it. And you know, if the hookers are trying to come back, they don't have that luxury anymore. They need to come out swinging. They're gonna have to bring something strong to close up that gap so that the second killer round doesn't have that much pressure to get back to the survivor round. So that's not all in the survivors.
Yeah, agreed. And so I think this is like an interesting point that I feel like comes up a lot in comp, right? Like you're sitting on watching. Maybe the killer was a part of the survivor squad. I don't know, but like you're preparing to go back to back in trials 2 and 3 as the killer, right? You see the killer for the other team come out and have a very, very strong performance in trial 1. I think this is where, like, yeah, you want to obviously come out and match it to the best of your ability, but you also want to make sure that you're not overextending, right? Like, you're not leaving extra slugs behind that normally you wouldn't, because sometimes that backfires on you, and then that allows the momentum to quickly be back on the survivor side, right?
Yeah, they definitely need to capitalize on the hooks, right? So where they had a fair amount of progressions, they need these pure hooks. So if they can find a way to extend that, right, and get the downs, get the hooks, get the down, get the hook, that'll help bridge that gap. But if they're just gonna hook one and next, that might not bring it close enough.
Yeah, and I would have to completely agree here. And I did want to point out real quick that I really like your focus when you're talking your points. Sometimes it almost looks like you're able to like move your lips without actually moving your lips. You're so locked in. I absolutely love it. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties on our end, Chad. That was we quickly put this together here, so we're working that on our end. I do apologize for that, but we are going to be moving into things here. It looks like I have got a new friend request actually coming in here, so we should be putting together a second lobby here quickly. So after seeing a strong performance here, what do you think is a likely counter that we see in trial number 2 as far as the killer pick?
Well, like I was saying, if they really want to, they're gonna need to use the nurse now. Unfortunately, they don't really have that choice. The nurse on this map, it's one of her strongest maps, if not the strongest map for her. And you really, really, really need to come out swinging right now. I mean, the point gap is not unreachable,
Right.
but you can't lay back and just throw out whoever. You need to come out swinging.
So do you feel like we see a similar approach like we saw from our killer in the last round and go with more of like the Ruin Undying sort of situation? Or since it is a smaller map, do we see them maybe opt to go for some others? If we go with the nurse, right? Do we see them more go with some other sort of slowdown as far as possibly like Thanatophobia, and then maybe go with like some pop instead of just going Ruin Undying?
Oh, it's depends on how well they are capitalizing on their momentum, right? So, Ruin Undying is very strong, especially on Dead Dog, because as you know, the totems there are some of the most hidden ones in all of DBD,
True,
right?
true.
So you get that free pressure from that, okay? And then on top of it, if you are constantly pushing them off, you're going to get the free regression. You're not going to have to take the time to hit it. The other side of that is that the nurse, it doesn't matter to the nurse. She can take the time, hit the gen, and then be right back on you. So it's going to be hard to tell if first of all, if they bring a nurse. It could be any other killer, but
Right.
if we're going to talk about nurse, on a map like this, Haunted Undying is very strong because if they go by the totems, you get that free information. You don't need to really go anywhere. She's very similar to the way Freddy played, right? You find your 3 gen, you hang out. That's
Yeah.
all you got to do.
I mean, that's a good point, right? Especially you can get that constant information, especially if you do get the Runa Undying to last a while. It's just, man, I tell you what, I feel for comp players sometimes, especially the killers, because I mean we see it, and I'm sure every time you load into a trial as a killer in comp, you probably do. I don't know if it's a rain dance or a certain little prayer to RN Jesus or whatever it is,
Right?
because it does seem like sometimes, we've seen sometimes where the ruin, even without an Undying, will stay up 4 to 5 minutes, right? But we've also seen sometimes that a ruin and an Undying is down in like 45 seconds. So I always worry about that risk. And again, especially on a smaller map where smart survivors do know for the most part where some of the spawns are. I feel like they search them a little bit tougher. So that's why I wanted to kind of pick your brain on that part.
Well, all right. So if I remember, this is Deadhead's home map, right? So now they're up on the surviving side. If this was my home map, I would be walking around and remembering where every totem spawn is, so that you never have to guess. Oh, no, I could be wrong. This could be the other teams, But either way, you would hope that you've gone through and memorized it, because literally the only other map that to me sorta has that kind of like, oh, where is it? It's Midwich, and you don't
Yeah.
play there very often.
Yeah, I mean, both there and here, definitely both maps that are, I think, very unique, and I wish we would see them more often. And I also like the fact that we have that option to go. It does look like we are good to go, so I'm going to let these folks know real quick that we are good to go. Should be loading into trial number 2. So I know you said that maybe the optimal pick for Dead Dog here would be Nurse, and I would have to agree. However, I would really like to see some of like maybe the B tier killer, not like B tier, but like those mid tier killers come out. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, especially because Dead Dog I think opens a lot of options. But I'll be interested to see what our killers for hookers here do, especially because it is their like first performance in Vigo Score. So I'm not even sure as far as, hey, it's Heyday here. I'm not sure how much like competition they, or how much comp experience they have. So maybe we just see whatever Heyday's like main is here, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it because I have an idea who they might play. I already had the same idea with Deadheads. I know both these teams personally, so I have a pretty good idea who's gonna do what. And I'm pretty sure Deadheads was like, we're not gonna go at them full force. We're gonna feel them out, and then, come their fourth turn, it depends. If they are striving for points, you're gonna see a nurse. If they are ahead, you won't.
I like it. And I gotta say, I really like the ability to give us, you ride in that line of, oh, I want to tell them, but we're not gonna tell them, right? But
Yeah.
while we are getting ready to load into trial number 2, let's talk about how our survivors here are going to be able to score these points, those very, very valuable points. First and second generator complete will get them 1 point each. The third and fourth generator getting them 2. That fifth and final gen getting them 3. The first escape will get them 1 point. The second escape gets them 2 points. If you happen to get yourself a third escape, that will yield our survivors 4 points. And if they get the fourth and final survivor out the door, that is a 6 point escape there as well. You also are going to get 1 additional point per hook state that you have remaining at the end of the trial. Once you escape, you have a total of 26 points that you can accrue as a survivor here, or at least as a survivor crew as a whole. And if you happen to have any other questions when it comes to the rules, ask your mama, or just use exclamation point rules in chat. That should help clear things up for you. I am very happy that we have gotten rid of these forever lobbies when it comes to the forever loading screens. But I feel like sometimes when you really are excited about loading into a screen, you don't quite get to load into the game the way that you're wanting to. But we are ready for trial number 2. And I am super excited here because we have got us a huntress.
Ooh, Hunty. Okay. See, she's not a terrible pick on this map, right? There's a lot of open area, a lot of line of sight. As long as they can hit those hatchets, they should be fine. Their only thing is, she is a 110, so she loses out on the mobility side. But again, this is a small map, and if she finds her 3-gen, she doesn't really need to move too far.
Yeah, the one thing that is interesting to point out here, right? We talked about heading into the actual matchup itself, the couple of elevated generators that spawn on Dead Dog here. The one that we see here, that Heyday is coming by at the Gallows. The other one we've already checked being at the Saloon. We did have the 3rd elevated gen that we were talking about, though, across the way. But Huntress does have the ability with those hatchets, of course, to be able to deal some damage to people working on those gens without having to traverse the environment all the way to actually be at those gens, right?
Correct. And they're being very immersed and just waiting out this corrupt. And on a map like this, it's so easy to do, right? All those bushes actually really work for you. And does he see someone, or is he just throwing? Yep, he sees one up there, but he's not throwing over the banister, fortunately. He does get a hit on the main gen right there. Hoping for the down, missed that.
And we see a couple of hatches. Only 1 hit so far.
Yeah, they just got to make sure they get the trajectory right, and they'll be okay. But you got to remember, hatchets don't just phase through certain things. They have to go over and drop.
And we do now see across the way, we have the corrupt intervention now coming off of those gens. That basically means the trial restarts here, right? But only 1 health state has changed, and now the Huntress has 1 less perk.
She doesn't really super benefit from that, or lose from it. She really needed to try to find someone during the corrupt to push that early pressure, and it didn't really seem to pan out. These survivors were keen on it. They probably told everybody, watch out, let's wait a little bit, let's make her waste her time so that she's down to a 3 perk huntress. When again, no hatchets, you're gonna have to go reload, and it's a lot of time to get over there. It's not what you want to be doing.
Yeah, now you're pushing up into the Gallows area, right? You're pushing up there without even without having any hatchets. You hadn't reloaded, you were out. So unfortunately, once you had pushed the survivor off, you couldn't even do anything else as far as continue to push them towards an extra injured state, right? Once they build that distance, you had mentioned Huntress is a 110 killer, so that makes those chases just a little bit longer.
Right, and it actually sometimes will allow the survivors that one more time around if they choose to greed. But we do see, right, that she does have the appropriate add-ons to work against that, but they gotta make these hits count. Can't just keep tomahawking and missing. Every miss is actually in the survivor's favor. You need to be hitting these like laser beams.
Yeah, and especially definitely talking about not only are you wasting the time, right, of the animation of picking up a hatchet, throwing the hatchet, waiting for the reload and winding up another one, but then that also means that you're 1 less hatchet away from having to reload, which is even more time. And I think we're kind of starting to see that compound here. Oh, with the nice body block.
See? And they're gonna barely make this hook. Yep, they missed it. See, that was the greed to get to the basement. They should have just went to the first hook available, which this side of the map is probably right by the water tower, and they chose to go further away from it. Now they have to re-engage this chase, and as we said already, 110. You're not catching them. It's gonna take you a while, and she has no hatchets, so it's gonna be rough. And see, she chooses to reload, which gives them more distance again, and then you still got to catch back up.
Yeah, this is tough.
And we do see that there are 2 gens done, and you know they need to start getting hooks, or this is not what you want to be doing. You need to get these hooks.
Yeah, and especially too, you're talking about coming back and you're checking on the gens that like are the farthest on this side of the map, which yeah, you get the benefit of you might be able to check here and you might have been able to find a survivor to be able to start working towards getting it down, but instead there's no survivors here. And now it's just more time and we see a complete reset again. So we have 3 generators complete. You've got a decent little 3 gen you can protect here right now, but we have no hook states at this point.
Right. And it's as unfortunate. We're down to 2 gens left. They've already gotten 1 out of the 3 gen area, which is that Gallows gen, which is always one you don't want to go early, and they did what they needed to do. They attacked it first.
And we now see at this point, our survivors doing a very good job. I feel like that's a good strategy. Once you get the hit, just build the distance, and they're doing a good job of putting those LOS blockers, right? Making sure you block the line of sight the best that you can against the Huntress. You had mentioned the 110 speed, meaning that Heyday is able to basically just, or that the survivors are able to just continue to build more distance from Heyday, right?
Right. And they're down to 1. I don't even know, maybe I missed it, but I don't think he's hooked anybody yet.
No, yeah, we are still sitting at no hooks for the hookers.
Right. And it's unfortunate. This is probably not what they were hoping. They were probably hoping to get a good amount of good hits, but these survivors are just narrowly escaping. They are using they're using the environment to their advantage, and the Huntress needs to slow down. That's the hardest thing about playing Huntress. I am a Huntress maid. You need to be patient. They're panic throwing, and you're never gonna hit them with a panic throw. You have to force them to go where you want, just like the Freddy did. You gotta put them where you want.
Yeah, very good point, right? Like it's easy to think, man, I'm behind. So if I throw these hatchets quicker, and if I hit 2, like if I get lucky, at least I've thrown them at a quick rate. Now someone's down faster. But we had mentioned earlier, not only is it about the the time that you lose taking up of winding and throwing it, but now you're also spending more time going to those lockers here too. And I think here is very much just feeling the nerves, right? You've felt some you've had 4 generators go, you haven't gotten a hook, and now it's almost like you're grasping at some desperation, right?
Yeah, and you can see that they're constantly trying to save that gen by the water tower, but I don't think they've gone far enough away to check the one over there yet. They have not crossed into it yet. So if the survivors are paying attention to the Huntress's cycle, they would start working on that gen, because it's the furthest for her to get to, and they're going to pull her away. As you see, they're just going to draw her away. That's going to allow someone to go back on that gen that's by the water tower, which for some reason they keep going after, but there's a lot of progress on it, and this Huntress cannot afford to be this far away. It's going to take her too long to get back, and that gen might even pop in her face if they're on it.
Yeah, now we do see some survivors over here. Not quite as much progress as maybe the survivors would like to have, because you would like to be splitting pressure here, right? But I would imagine that while we had 1 survivor able to pull aggro, oh my goodness gracious, you can hear this generator right here. This thing's knocking like a Ford in the middle of December. That thing's just about ready to go.
There it is, right in their face. Like I said, she went too far away, gave them too much time, but she does get the first hook. I'm believing this is going to be the first hook of the game. And they're going to need, I mean, at this point, you have to camp it, right? You have to hope and hope and pray that, did we just see? Yes, we did. We just did see a no way out. So they were hoping to get some end game pressure here with this No Way Out, but it's kind of going to work against them because now the survivors can regroup. They can decide if they're going to, even come back over there or stay towards the other gate because it's so far away. Huntress has no choice. She has to stand here. So we're probably going to see a 3 out, and if they do come back for this fourth, it's going to be risky, but they at this point they might be able to. She's going to reload.
The reload is costly too, right? Because then you couldn't even put pressure on the door that's right in front of your face.
Exactly, and we do see the door open, and it does happen to be the one right here. So they may attempt to come for the 4-man body block.
Yeah,
But
you would
if-
imagine they're. Oh no, we see one leave.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Just take the 3. Don't even risk it. Don't give them any more hooks. They got 1 hook, 2 progressions. That's unfortunate. That's not what they wanted. That is not what they needed. But you have to give it to them for trying. I mean, Huntress on Dead Dog that's one of my lower choices. I would have to say Huntress on Dead Dog is one of my lower.
Yeah, definitely interesting and also unfortunate. We saw the No Way Out play. Unfortunately, though, I do believe that they touched the door before they were even able to get a stack from the hook, which means even less time there. So,
Yep.
chat, we are going to do a very quick restart here, see if I can fix some of the technical issues that are causing some of the frame drops. Give us just a moment, and we will be back, hopefully, with trials number 3 and 4.